introduce you guys to Samantha. She is our manager of community services here. In case you haven't met her, I have met her, which is great. She came to say hi to me and buy stuff from me. She's my new friend. That being said, I'll hand it over to you, Samantha, and you can just introduce yourself to everybody.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you for the invitation to come tonight. I'm just looking at the list of names here, and I am familiar with many of you that are on here tonight. For those of you I haven't met, I do hope I have the chance to. Kevin has just asked me to introduce myself and my role with the town. So as manager of community services, there are a few different things under that umbrella. I'll start with the facilities themselves. So within this umbrella falls the pool and working with the YMCA at the pool, getting the Leo Boyven Community Center back up and running through events and recreational activities. The marina has been a focus as well, and opening the museum in conjunction with tourism. Also with that then comes the facility rentals. So there are a number of town facilities available to be used for business purposes as well as for recreational purposes. So I am the point of contact for those inquiring about those kinds of spaces. As well as getting to know what the community service groups are and organizations within the town and what their needs are, and helping to promote their initiatives within the town itself. With that comes the community events, both town run and town led, as well as helping to promote any events that are happening through these organizations within the town. And then finally, building up a volunteer base in town is on my plate as well. We have started that since I've arrived. Some of the focus points have been with the COVID vaccination clinics happening out of the Leo, as well as the dog park initiative as well. So we're getting off of the ground, but if anybody within this group is aware of anybody looking for volunteer opportunities, whether they be students or people just looking to get involved, please feel free to send them my way. So that is in a nutshell description of what I do. In relation to the BIA itself, I'm really here to serve as a point of reference when it comes to the community service aspect. So you have wonderful resources in Justin and Dana, and we do communicate regularly. So they've been updating me on what's going on with the BIA and potential events that are coming down the road. So I'm happy to help in terms of promotion of BIA events, as well as to be that point of contact for facility usage if there are any businesses looking for space for events or whatever that could look like. So that's what I've got so far. If there's any questions, please feel free to ask.
She's got a lot in her portfolio.
I was gonna say that's the nutshell version from what I saw in the council introduction.
Yeah.
Anybody got any questions for Samantha? No? Alrighty. Well, I guess that would be it, Samantha. I know you've got to run this evening. Appreciate you introducing yourself, and I'm sure we'll be in touch probably soon, actually, very soon.
I've heard that there might be some things happening for potentially Thanksgiving and Halloween. So I will touch base with Dana and Justin and see what that looks like. But thank you again for the chance to come and say hello to everybody.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Sam.
Bye.
Alrighty. Yeah, Samantha's great, and she's eager, which is nice to see. So next on the list is the previous minutes. Again, they were sent out. If you get a motion to approve them. Motion is made by Pearl and seconded by.
I'll second.
Seconded by Jeannie. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. On to the agenda items for this evening. 6.1 Digital Main Street update. This one I would normally say goes to Justin, but tonight it does not. it goes.
I'm just going to start out here,
Where'd she
first
go?
discussing it, and then Elizabeth will jump on in a second here. So,
All right. Okay, we'll start with Justin.
and then we'll move on to Elizabeth.
There we go.
So, as I think most of you know, Elizabeth Lawless joined us on August 23rd as the new Digital Main Street Coordinator for South Grenville. So, including Prescott, Edwardsburg, Cardinal, and Augusta. There's a new round of the Digital Transformation Grant, which is starting along with the Digital Service Squad funding. So businesses are able to apply again for businesses that did not previously receive the grant are able to apply now for a digital transformation grant, which can assist them with digital costs, new hardware, new software to make their businesses more efficient and market themselves digitally. Elizabeth's role will be the same as what mine was last fall. So she is working with businesses to assist them in applying for the grant, helping them decide what they could use that grant money for, and then helping them implement their project as they get that grant money and start working with other vendors and so forth. So Elizabeth has just a brief presentation taking you through the BIA specific stuff that she's done so far and what she'll be looking at moving forward. Now, I believe I'm just going to share her presentation here. So she will have to tell me when to flip slides. But if everyone can see that, I'll just turn it over to Elizabeth.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth. I just put a very brief PowerPoint together for a bit of a visual on what we've done so far in the BIA. So if you want to go to the next slide. So this is just a little graphic that I made. So far we've visited 12 businesses. 7 of those we're waiting for a response, so maybe they weren't sure if they're going to do it or not. They want to look into it, things like that. We have 1 person that's been approved and has already received their grant, which is exciting. And we have 3 that are interested and have started the application process. We'll flip to the next slide. This is kind of a visual of just the interest in general. We have very few that aren't interested. As you can see, we have a lot that are kind of debating on it, and then we have a good portion that have shown interest in it so far. And then we'll go to the next. So here's it kind of broken down for you. As I said, we've contacted 12. 3 of them are interested. That gives us a rate of interest of 25%. I'm really hoping that those 7 that I'm waiting on a response from will bump this rate of interest up to 50% within the next few weeks, but that's what we have so far. I'm really excited to have this position, and I've had a lot of fun with it so far, so I'm looking forward to meeting new businesses. And you can go to the next. And just any questions that you have, feel free to send me.
Nobody has any questions. So we're all, any idea how many businesses then the BIA used it last time? Obviously, it's significantly lower this time.
So remember last time the specific focus was the sort of BIA area and places zoned like BIA areas, which made it extraordinarily limited in the other 2 townships. But in Prescott, that meant that the bulk of the grants went to the BIA area. And I believe that would have been 14 out of the 16 that went out in Prescott last time were BIA area businesses, which also means that with the changes in the funding criteria, so more businesses are eligible this time. All businesses that have commercial tax assessments and a brick and mortar location are eligible to apply, and there's a couple other criteria. So more businesses are eligible, and the bulk of the previous businesses that went through were BIA zone businesses. So I think probably this time through, we'll see fewer BIA businesses, or a smaller percentage of the total number being BIA businesses, just because people that were keen on doing it did it through that first round. And the greater availability this time means that perhaps more businesses that are from other areas will apply, but I would still expect there's probably going to be a significant number of BIA businesses that end up applying for funding.
Lovely.
And again, that is just one stream of the program too. So there's a multitude of other aspects that Elizabeth will be able to engage the BIA businesses in throughout the program. It's really just the funding, the grant option that some aren't able to receive twice.
Awesome. Anybody else with a question? I don't see any. Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth. I know you're working hard and Justin's keeping you moving. So you don't need to stick around for the rest of the meeting, I don't think, unless you feel like it, but you're welcome to depart if you would like.
Just wanted
She's keen to see what happens.
Oh, yeah? Oh, okay.
You need to take one of these in.
Ah. All
And
right.
just quickly if I can just jump in quickly, just wanted to thank Elizabeth for the hard work. She's doing a fantastic job. I think we've got a great team here with Justin and Elizabeth. They've really hit the ground running, and they've managed to engage quite a few businesses in the program already. And I think we're already seeing some impressive results. So thanks to both of you.
Yes, thanks, both of you, definitely. Okay, so I don't see any questions, so we will move on to 6.2, which sticks with Justin. And any updates from Justin?
So looking at the rest of the agenda tonight,
You're gonna
fairly limited what I'm going to dive into here, because I think we're going to cover most of it in the other items. The Ontario by Bike, that's continuing to move forward, still trying to solicit some additional businesses to join, but we're in a position now where as soon as we have the fixed location, we'll be able to be designated a downtown or a bike-friendly business area. So that will move forward pretty quickly. Accessibility, we discussed there at multiple previous meetings. It was also discussed at council at the most recent meeting. One of the ideas, because if you recall, there was originally a program that we thought might be something we could utilize for accessibility ramps, portable accessibility ramps, but it was more of a almost Habitat for Humanity style project that would require volunteer labor and supplies rather than having these built. So I've been looking at some other options there, including commercial ones. One idea that we might be able to work with is whether Walker House will be able to assist through their woodworking program in something similar to that original program, but local. So I hope to be able to talk to Sue about that in the next couple of weeks and see what might be possible there. I don't believe in this particular section I have anything else to add that won't be covered in the later items, but if anyone has any questions or anything that's popping up here now, feel free.
Everybody's really quiet tonight. Alrighty, no questions from me either right now. I'm sure we got other stuff we'll chat about, I'm sure. So we'll move on. 6.3. And I'm sorry, town, I know this is a touchy subject, but safety concerns regarding the pedestrian crossings at the downtown intersections. Possible suggestions to town. And the reason this has come up, I've had a lot of people come to me with concerns about safety at the intersections. I've seen a lot of issues myself just being downtown and seeing some of the intersections all day long. But if any of you guys know anything that you want to add, I'll let you guys go first. If you say nothing, I'd be surprised, but go right ahead if anybody wants to say something.
I think that on each pedestrian crosswalk area, we should have the button on all four corners. Not just one side on the north and south, but all four corners. Because people don't want to have to cross one way, hit the button, cross it, go across the road, and then go back again to where they need to be. They're making like a C instead of a decent straight line.
Mm-hmm. Definitely one. Anybody else? I could do this all day long. Trust me. I've just seen it day in and day out, and it boggles my mind. But I don't know, Mayor Todd. I know you. I've probably heard tons of complaining about it. I'm just, and I don't mean to put anybody on the spot. It's just when I see it day in and day out, it's kind of a hard thing to ignore. And I do agree with Jeannie's comment. I don't get it.
We can't do it. We can't do it. It's an MTO regulation, Matt. This was something we raised immediately early on. Matt, do you want to clarify that in the buttons?
Sure. So there's a maximum distance you can have between a button and the actual crosswalk, and putting it across is way too far. So it has to be, I believe, within a meter and a half of the crosswalk itself. So certainly, I think what I'm hearing is I'd be more than happy to meet directly with you, Kevin, to review some of your comments and that sort of thing, and then I can certainly address them that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fine. But a lot of them are ones that have come to me, so they're not all necessarily my concerns per se. But I mean, there's a mixture of things too, like people just don't even bother using it, or vice versa. Traffic doesn't know which way to go. But that's something we can talk about. But I wanted to bring it up because it's been mentioned to me a few times, so I just wanted to bring that up. If there's any concerns over anybody else, by all means, here's a good chance to pass it along. And
I do think the whole thing needs to be looked at again. I've said this to Matt. I think I've mentioned it to Teresa, and I've mentioned it to one or two other counselors that I've been close to bringing this back to council and just doing a notice of motion and asking it to be brought back for another good look. Because I don't think we need to go back to all the street lights again. We've got problems in another number of intersections in town that do concern me. I do think even the intersection at Park and Edwards a little problematic right now. There's a lot of traffic there with no lights there anymore. I'm not saying bring lights back, but I do wonder if that's something that needs to be looked at during the daytime. And then of course we've got the major ones at King and Center and King and George. And there are definitely issues there with regards to where vehicles are parked. We've got people that park directly on the corner all the time to run into the bank of, run into the Royal Bank, to run into the Turkish place, see it constantly. It is very difficult to see. People do creep out, and that is a concern. We need to, at the very least, we have to paint that off, and I think pull a few parking spots back if we're going to continue with something like this. But quite frankly, it wouldn't break my heart to put one or two of the traffic lights right back in downtown. Don't want to get into it too much tonight because this, although I want to hear from everyone. I shouldn't say that, but it is something that I've heard a lot of, and I think it needs to, at the very least, it needs to be tweaked somewhat because I don't think it's entirely working. And the other part of it is crosswalks, even in the North End. I'll be quite frankly, I missed one today as well because I was focusing so much on the kids in the street and the traffic that when that light goes off, it's lost completely in the background. And that's been a concern a lot of us have had there. This is the one back by the Burger King. So it's just something we do need to look at. I don't think we're unique on this. It's the same thing in Brockville. It's the same everywhere with crosswalks. It's just something that, at any rate, it's not going to be solved tonight, but any feedback anyone has, I do think it is something we do have to open up and take a look at. Maybe there's some ways we can tweak this. Maybe we have to do something a little more. That's just, I'll try to be as candid as possible on that because it is something that I've thought about a lot over the last year or so, and more now, I guess it's been.
Anybody have anything?
Traffic light sounds nice again. Trying to get to go on King Street is hard sometimes, especially when you're going south and you have to turn towards Cardinal East. It's hard to get across and see what you're doing a lot of the time. So the traffic lights would be nice again.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, I see Councillor Jasmine. Yes, Teresa.
Maybe Mayor Todd or Matthew, the traffic lights, I agree. But I think they were very, 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 very costly, like more so than what you would expect. Is that true, Matthew, Brett?
I think actually, looking at it again, I shouldn't even say that. I thought it was a little cheaper after it was looked at a second time or whatever, but I don't know. I don't think it's been fully costed. They're not cheap by any measurement, though. They're not. It's not a cheap addition. But Matt may know more about pricing.
We're somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 to 200,000 per intersection.
Ooh.
So they aren't inexpensive to do. Yeah, I think we'll also take a look at it from the downtown beautification perspective to be able to say, what do we need to add? What do we need to take away? And certainly what enhances the overall usability of the downtown. So certainly that's something that we can take a look at as well. Because there certainly are other communities that Perth does a fantastic job of it when it comes to marking their crosswalks from a visual perspective. There's also some other options out there that we could explore in terms of strobe lights as opposed to kind of those flashing ones that perhaps do absolutely get lost in the overall landscape. And so I think there's a couple of things that we definitely take a look at and see what those alternatives look like. So that obviously safety is a primary concern, and then at the same time, points about people parking where they shouldn't is certainly exacerbating the issues. So one of the things that we're currently looking at is things you can put right in the pavement itself, and it's just a stick that sticks up. If somebody hits it, it bends over, and so damage, but it does keep them from parking where they shouldn't. So simple things like that, where obviously during the winter, that's a little bit more problematic from a cleaning perspective, but during the non-winter months, then certainly it's an option. So clearing out those sight lines would be a huge improvement, I believe.
Yeah, and that's a problem elsewhere too. It's an issue at the Park and Edward crossing as well. There's always somebody parked. Just if you're coming off Park Street turning left, it's a nightmare trying to get across there during the day now, because quite frankly, the vehicle line is probably a little too close to the street. We probably need to pull that back one or even two. And I think that's one of the biggest problems downtown. And the other one I will mention too is by Katarina's. That is, there's a little bit of speeding there. I honestly think it really has gotten better. A couple of years ago, I thought it was quite treacherous there, watching the kids try to cross. I do find it better, but at the same time now, people blow through that crosswalk all the time when the lights are on. It's a fairly regular occurrence. I don't know what the answer is to that at the end of the day, other than awareness, police presence as well. But there are a lot of people that just aren't paying proper attention going through that whole section of town. And it's a straight run out of town and right into town now too. So some people get up to some pretty ridiculous speeds going through there still. So I think it's an overall traffic. There's a few overall traffic questions to look at, but I would say the lights downtown or something like that, I am leaning towards personally looking at that and supporting that myself, because I'm not sure this works, but I'll leave it at that for tonight.
Going forward, if this is Matthew, I will talk to you myself, Matthew. I'll send you an email. But in regards to us, if there is anything going forward as far as changes, like you mentioned, beautification, can BIA be involved with said process?
Yeah, we you guys are down there the most, so certainly we want to be able to take your observations, include those in any changes that we make, as well as use you as a conduit to make sure that the improvements that we do undertake get out there, and people can see them and understand them, and then it's constantly should be a feedback loop so that we can understand what's working and how we can tweak it better.
Yeah, because I think it bypassed us last time, and it kind of, by the time it was approved, it kind of just happened, and yeah, everyone kind of went crazy after that. But anyways, yeah, if we can at least have some involvement as far as the beautification side goes, that'd be great. I do have one other question, Matthew. I know a while back in one of our meetings, we had discussed, and I wish I was able to find it, I wasn't, about the possibilities of moving the speed clock into the downtown a little more. And I think that was mentioned that could happen or would happen, and it's still on the outside of town. So I was just kind of curious if that was still a possibility or not.
So actually, we purchased a non-display speed spy. So we're able to move it around town, and we did do some measuring right by Walker House and whatnot. I think it's currently deployed in another area of town, but our intention was to kind of put it in the mid downtown, and then feed back some data to show what those speeds are looking like. So we still absolutely have you on the list. What we'd like to do is not move the display, so that we can get a true reading of what that looks like.
Yeah. Okay. No, I just wanted to mention it because I know it's been a while since we talked about it. So
certainly.
All right. Is there anybody else having concern? If not, we'll move on. Don't see anything, so we'll move on to 6.4, promotions, and that goes as far as the rat cards. I know Justin sent out, or at least I saw them. I don't know. Did it go to everybody? Yeah, it did.
Went to the promotions committee.
Yeah, but I know you sent out pictures there the other day. It went to everybody, right?
Of the rack cards?
Yeah.
No, that was just the promotions committee. So that was you.
Okay, I didn't catch all that. All right. So I'll hand it over to you anyways, because you're working on it.
Just going to pull up the rack cards that Kevin was actually discussing. Now I've made some changes since then. So mainly tried to incorporate some of the suggestions from last time. We had sort of multiple options up here. I think after the last marketing meeting and after some of the discussions we have, one of the things that I would suggest is trying to keep them as simple as possible, focusing on the photographs. So I incorporated, this one would be the most simple, as the simplest idea of the front of the rack card, which would just include a couple of downtown Prescott photos. One that had more photos incorporating some of the downtown facades, riverwalk photos, beach photos, etc. So we can still look at switching out those photos, looking at some of the new ones that are coming in through the professional photographer. There's options there before really commit to the purchasing. And those decisions, I think, can be made through the marketing or promotions committee, whatever we're calling that. It's the back that probably requires the most discussion or just looking at here right now. So previously, the mock-up at the start simply had the information from the BIA website about the downtown Prescott BIA, which was a blurb about the downtown area. We looked at the idea of things that it could be changed to. So one idea I played with, and we will add the scan to view downtown businesses to the QR code, a suggestion Kevin had in that email exchange that I think we should, so people know what they're scanning for. But a couple of the ideas I thought about for the back of that were simply the plain one with the QR code, no writing on there. Second was to incorporate this fireworks shot from downtown, from one of the fireworks displays, and just something simple like visit the historic Riverwalk District for one-of-a-kind shopping, restaurants, coffee shops, and more all on the shores of the St. Lawrence River. With the QR code and the website, could do something basic without any writing on there. Or, and this is the other discussion that I think we should consider this evening, which is whether the focus should be on this visit the Riverwalk District, about the Riverwalk District, basically making it more pointed towards a tourism venture, or whether it would make sense to consider this simply an advocacy piece to raise awareness about the BIA itself as an organization, so downtown businesses and community members know what the BIA is, what it's doing, while having the ancillary benefit of marketing the downtown area through this. Because a thing to remember is that there will be tourism marketing that will really strongly focus on the downtown area, just by the fact that that's the main tourism space here that will be rolling out in the spring for next season. So perhaps a better focus for this would be more towards the idea of it being about the downtown Prescott BIA. You guys as an organization raising awareness to that, in which case I would look at language like that's up here. Basically, the downtown Prescott BIA works to advocate for and support businesses in Prescott's historic Riverwalk District, and then directing people to the website. And this would be useful to include at events, whether they be chamber events, local events, at things like the farmers market, to have throughout BIA businesses, to be able to hand out from board members, from participating businesses that might participate more in the BIA, to businesses that may not, or may not understand what the goals here are, just to raise awareness about the organization. And to that end, I sort of sent an email there today to Kevin, and it was probably pretty cryptic and he didn't know what I was talking about. But another thing to consider along those lines would be something like BIA window stickers. You know, we're a BIA business, or downtown Prescott BIA window stickers, similar to the ones that I know a couple of you have received for Digital Main Street, and I think a couple of you have received for CIP funding. And just be looking more, focusing on the idea of raising awareness of the BIA. So if anybody has thoughts, questions, feelings.
I'll let everybody else talk.
I like the option with the BIA on the back of it, promoting the BIA with the QR code.
Tracy, what do you think?
That's a good question. I'm always of the thing about supporting the businesses and not actually the BIA. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think it's important to say downtown Prescott and then have the QR code with the directory of all the stores, but maybe not so much saying what the BIA does. I don't know. Just throwing that out there. I think if we have limited space, it should be about the businesses themselves and not about what the BIA does.
Mm-hmm. How about Pearl? What's Pearl think?
I agree. I agree with Tracy. I prefer to promote the businesses as well, more so than the BIA. Sorry, I have my grandbabies here, so that's why I keep
just ask them what they think.
The background.
I'm sure they'll tell you. Jeannie, yourself?
Kind of at a crossroads. I like the fact that promoting the downtown businesses, but they also got to know that we're active in it. Could we blend the two together a little
feel
bit more? The write-ups on the two different cards?
I feel that directing the people to the BIA website with the business directory does that. You are leading people towards that business directory. The purpose of the BIA is to promote that area in which these businesses are established, which is why we have them listed through the BIA website as well. So you're raising awareness both of the organization and moving people towards that website where the businesses are highlighted. And we sort of get into a position here wherein the functional difference between promoting the BIA and the businesses themselves is fairly narrow, because we can't, or you can't specifically promote individual businesses. You don't want to be doing that through this. So it's more of a broad reaching initiative to begin with. And so by sort of raising awareness of the organization and the fact that you do the sort of undertakings that you do helps raise awareness for the businesses in the business area itself.
And I think, sorry, just to jump in here, from an economic development perspective, having that piece, that promotional material, and that ability to be able to say, we have this organization, this district in our community that is supporting businesses, you know, there's a benefit. There's to be able to say that you are part of that BIA region. We really want to be able to promote that as an asset and the benefits that come with that to businesses, while still hitting, you know, kind of that double-edged sword by also directing the readers to the website, where they are then encountering the business directory and all of the different promotions that the BIA is doing, special events that may be taking place in the downtown, and really, you know, just trying to kind of satisfy that double-edged sword. And then we're looking at doing, well, what we are doing is developing our own rat card and illustrated map and promotional materials that are going to be very similar in design to the BIA rat card, but just cater to a bit of a different audience and look after more of that promotional piece. But I think there is something to be said for looking at doing your own rat card that, you know, also promotes the BIA, while at the same time directing people to the great mix of businesses that we have in that downtown core.
And to a degree, like, the act of promoting the BIA is the act of promoting those businesses as well, because you're, by promoting the BIA and the business improvement area, you're promoting the businesses that are a part of that and are within that in a holistic manner. But there's also other language here for the other direction. So,
and you could very simply, as to Jeannie's suggestion, add a very, you know, a short blurb of like that combination of the two, a bit of the verbiage from that first one that just very quickly speaks to that broad range of businesses in that area that are being supported by the BIA through its activities.
both those two things would fit on there fairly easily. We'd end up with smaller font. But both those things would fit on there.
Maybe that's the better option. Having the two, then yeah. I was kind of on the side there with Karen too, and then Jeannie mentioned about both, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess it's possible.
It's also possible, like, the cost of this is incredibly low. Like, when we get to that portion of these proceedings, we're talking about $300 for 1,000 high quality ones through one of the online printing sites. So you could split your run into 500 each, with one about the Riverwalk District and one about the BIA, and satisfy both things.
Yeah, have two pieces, and depending on the audience. But I really like the combination of both, and not getting into having to have two different personally, just from our perspective, and then our ability to rack it as well, because there can be limited racking opportunities at, different, even places of business where you're trying to promote this, different, like our tourism center and some of the other organizations through town, like say the Fort, other organizations that would have the opportunity to rack this and promote it on the BIA's behalf.
All right. Well, what's everybody think then? I see heads nodding, so.
I like the idea of combining them and just having the one rack card with the two components on it.
Yeah, we can probably. Anybody else? No. Alrighty. Maybe because it's a month from now that we'll meet, do we want to allocate funds to that now? That way we have funds sitting aside, and once we tweak the pictures, we're good to go. Or we don't, whatever. How much, what do you think, Justin? How much money?
To be safe, I would allocate $500 and that should cover it.
I'm comfortable with that. I think that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is good? You want to make a motion, Pearl?
Sure. Yeah, I'll make the motion to allocate $500 towards the rack card. And I agree with Karen as well. I like the idea of one. Two can get confusing.
Alrighty. So a motion is made by Pearl. Who would care to second that?
I'll second it.
Oh, Jeannie beat you, Karen.
Okay, no worries.
Second by Jeannie. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. That'll be great. And just for Brett, we did put the beach picture on there. we agreed it needed it. All right. Where's my phone? There it is. All right. Since we've got that dealt with, we'll meet then soon, because the sooner we can get those out, the better. We'll move into 6.5. Again, more beautification, fun stuff, and that whole connection to King Street and waterfront thing. Gonna bring it up again. And I forgot to put in this, and I realized it after the fact. Anything about, like, we do have some money. I don't know if we want to decide to do anything on side streets, benches and all kinds of stuff like that. I did see that they put a bench at the bus stop. I thought about a bench at the bus stop, and then one showed up today. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, we had a couple of benches that became available. We had had these discussions as part of our transit planning committee, and they just happened to become available at the right time. So we thought that would be the perfect location for them. One at the Center and Water Street stop, and then one at the Churchill and Edward Street stop.
I haven't even seen that stop. Yeah, I don't know if anybody has considered anything like that, or if town is interested in anything more like that downtown. And again, the whole connection thing, it's just going to keep getting pressed, because I know there's talk about it, but it's just a matter of how anybody wants to go about doing it. We discussed it a little bit last meeting. Brett, I know you mentioned something about something that you're not allowed to talk about. That's okay. So I don't know. What's everybody's thoughts on that one?
Kevin, just for clarification, so this is this going back specifically to the recommendation to close Edward between King and Water?
Well, it could be anything.
Or just a broader discussion? Okay.
Well, it could be a broad discussion. I mean, there's only so many options, but as of right now, there's only so many options. But
And that we are bringing something forward under the staff report that might help address some of those connections, not to the extent that you're talking about, but just some smaller projects that may help address that, not the actual physical connection, but more of a visual connection.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know it's been brought up a few times, and I don't know the last meeting, we talked about it briefly, but the having a connection, so basically something that draws the eye and the person from King Street to the water. Something that looks a little more attractive. And I know we kept coming up with the whole Edward Street closing between King and Water. And I don't even know if that's a viable solution or idea. And I think this would be like a footpath thing, like I don't know how to explain it. I think there's been some discussion about the pop-up shops, whether the town's doing that or not, I don't know. But things like that going there. So it's kind of something like that. And this doesn't have to be a permanent thing either. I don't even know if we'd be allowed to do that. You actually allowed to shut down a street like that, Matthew?
That certainly would be up to council's discretion. Just some things you'd have to consider in terms of whether it's an EDR or not. That particular portion isn't. But then there's also greater considerations in terms of vehicular and pedestrian traffic. But certainly, it's I think we've heard the request and the idea, and something that we could certainly explore and bring in front of council and see what their thoughts are.
I don't know. Anybody else have any ideas, thoughts around the topic? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Nobody. Any thoughts, Mayor Todd? I know this is something you've been trying to advocate, at least a connection anyways, but
And that's a long way to try to get me unmuted just to say no. I really don't have any added comments on that right now. It's just something I think we've got to continue to look at.
I don't know. The option is there if anybody thinks it's an interesting idea, it's something you can work with. If not, then you don't have to. What does I don't know. Any thoughts, anybody? You guys are supposed to say stuff. I don't know, because we can just leave it and move on. I'm fine with that. All right. If anybody has any ideas or suggestions, we can bring them up another time. Let's move on to events. 6.6. We had our little events committee meet the other day. We came up with a few things. One that I realized after the fact, and I apologize to Tracy for this one. It turned into a promotion, and I didn't realize it till after the fact. But I apologize. But we kind of came up with an idea, and I might have Jeannie explain. Jeannie, do you think you'd be up for explaining this one?
Okay, so the local businesses that want to participate, Leslie drew it up and showed me a picture of how to paint a turkey with no tail feathers. Anybody that comes into a store with a non-perishable or cash donation can get a feather. They can write what they're thankful for, and we put it on the turkey and make the turkey tail, and the money and the non-perishables to go to the food bank. It gets the people into each store that wants to participate.
You made that sound a lot simpler than I thought it was going to be.
It's a very simple concept. Like, I'm thankful for, and we get the feather. We've donated some canned goods, or we throw in a loonie in the canister up at the cache, and then we just give them the turkey feather that's cut out paper, give them a pen, write what they're thankful for, and then we'll tape it to the turkey feathers. Did anybody else get the email with the cute turkey painted on a window?
I don't know who Leslie sent it to. I think she just sent it to us.
Yeah, it was cute.
So Leslie, once we'll find out what businesses want to participate, and Leslie has actually offered to go to their windows and paint a turkey in it.
Yeah.
Sounds like a cute idea.
It's actually it's simple. Really the point is to just try and get people in your shop.
They don't have to purchase anything, but they're in the store. You know what I mean? They don't have to buy something to get the turkey feather. Just donate a non-perishable canned good, flip a loonie in the tin. Here's your feather. Mark what you're thankful for and tape it against the turkey for his feathers, tail feathers.
I think it's a really good idea as well. The only thing that I'm a bit confused about is I don't see how it will bring people into the store. I don't think that people will want to come to your store just to do that. I think people would be happy to donate and to do that if they were already going to your store or in your store. But I don't think that people will necessarily want to go into a store for that reason.
Well, it could be pretty well any store, like whether they're a regular customer, and it could be kind of funny to see maybe a turkey with one feather on it versus another turkey that has 40 or 50 turkeys on it.
Yeah, I think it's fun, and I think that it's a really good idea. But I think that it should be marketed more as a fun kind of event rather than something that draws people into your business. I think that we should look at another idea that draws, in addition to that will draw people into each store. So I just don't see that being a big draw to have people come in.
Okay.
But I could be wrong too. I mean,
Crazy.
So what if you kind of made it like a competition between the businesses to see which turkey had the most feathers? I don't know. That might.
I was thinking the exact same thing, Tracy. Make it a competition between them, right? Whoever can get the most feathers, the most donations.
Yep.
And then it's like a downtown beautification thing, right? If every door had one of these gorgeous turkeys on it, it just adds to that beauty and ambiance of the downtown for the fall season too.
Yeah. And that might bring people in to help you win your contest.
Yeah.
Cool.
What, did we mention that at all, Jeannie, when we were?
No, we didn't make it a contest for the store owners. We were just trying to get the donations for the food bank.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point though.
Yeah, I like the competition stuff.
Yeah, and especially if it was promoted on Facebook and that sort of thing, just like, when they had those sign wars, people were so engaged in that.
Justin, I honestly swear I thought your head was going to blow up for a second.
What do you mean? I did lean in there, right? I got right in on top of the camera.
I kind of got one of those. What are you guys doing?
I didn't mean to scare everyone there. I just thought it was time to lean in.
No, actually, I think the idea of competing stores, I think, is probably not a bad idea. I had the same thought after the fact, and it's just that little extra oomph. So yeah, I know Justin's probably going to be helping a little with this one. just to find out the stores who are going to be interested. But
We're also designing a feather.
yeah, they're designing a feather. That's what the big bucks get you. You design a feather.
Yeah.
So what would be a good idea then for a prize to the store? Obviously bragging rights, but
Prescott dollars to give away to customers.
Extra ones, yeah.
yeah, that's the simplest of them. But does
You
that
can't waive their tax bill or anything like that.
yeah.
Something else that we were thinking is potentially, I know at one point the BIA did a promotion where I think it was for new businesses that came on, receive some advertising dollars. So I was also thinking alternatively, could those winning businesses get some paid advertising in the local radio station, local newspaper, whatever maybe their choice is?
Cool, that'd be nice.
And that would be sponsored by the BIA.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. I think we got monies for things like that. Do we know what the cost, like how much would you need to advertise?
So to run a print ad in one of our local papers, if you're looking at the South Grenville Beacon, you're probably about $250 for a quarter-page ad. Rockville Recorder and Times, you're getting up into, I would say, upwards of $300-400 just for one print ad. We're also currently doing some advertising with Moose FM. Justin, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do you recall what their just standard per spot price is? And you know what, just thinking about that, actually, we have recently purchased a radio campaign, like an annual campaign to promote a variety of town functions, events that's going to be split amongst a variety of departments. Maybe that's something that we could allocate even some of our spots to, and then that could potentially be covered by the BIA, just because we're getting them for that much more of an affordable cost. Sorry, Justin, go ahead.
So presently they're selling 50 30-second commercials for $600 plus HST, with an additional 50 30-second commercials free. As well, they're selling the big box online ad for $161 plus HST for 4 weeks. So that's up on their website. So those are the options.
So maybe the BIA could actually go in on just a special one of these campaigns and have that as a potential prize. You could either split it between a few of the winning businesses or allocate it all to one.
Kevin, I've got a hard stop at 7 o'clock, so I've got to take off in a moment. But one thing I am going to suggest, if I might, for the next meeting, every single item on our BIA agendas are all discussions. And what ends up happening is we have 10, 15 minutes, whatever discussion, try to come up with a motion, then discuss the motion, then make the motion, then eventually pass it on. What we're really missing in the meetings, we need to go into the meetings with items that actually have motions attached. So we know exactly what we're talking about. We can stay on topic and actually move things along in a pretty quick manner. And I'm just seeing, like, for the promotions, like with the rat card, there's nothing attached to it. Beautification discussion, and that went nowhere because there was nothing attached to it. And the same with the events. And I say this not as any sort of criticism, because these are great discussions, but we should try to focus it a little more. And if I could, and I know, Kevin, you're still fairly new at the whole meeting and the agenda stuff. And if there's a way, maybe our staff could just have a little bit of quick assistance with this, just on doing the agendas to attach motions to these items to keep us on topic. Because really, maybe every now and again, you should have one item that's a broad-based discussion. But if you have 5 or 6, you end up having a really long discussion, and it just keeps us on point, and it allows us to to sort of get moving. I say this without any criticism because these are great meetings now, and I really love the amount of interest in the BIA. This is great, but I do think we should try to focus some of these discussions. So Matt will probably hit me the next time I see him for volunteering staff for this. But is it possible we could actually have someone on staff just help with the next agenda, put some motions behind some of this, and then BIA could take it on their own from there? Just a suggestion.
We can just kind of jumping in, but we're more than happy to provide assistance with that, certainly. If that, is that something that the board feels would be of benefit, I think it would definitely help just having a quick motion attached to some of these that don't require that broader level of discussion. We'd be more than happy to, between Justin and myself, assist with that.
Yeah, even rat card could have been, one or two options, and just, it just helps formulate discussion, because I find a lot of the time where some were struggling to get input. Sometimes, the discussion goes on for quite some time, but it just would focus things a little bit. And I think it would just help everyone. Again, I'm not trying to say this to dismiss any sort of discussion, but just to focus it a bit more, because we've got more interest in the BIA, and quite frankly, it's going very, very well. But that's just one aspect I did want to mention, because unfortunately I've got to duck out because I've got a 7 o'clock commitment. So anyways, I'll just leave that with everyone. Good to see everyone, and take care. Have a great night, but I got to run.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Brett.
Thanks, Brett.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Now I'm all sidetracked.
Yeah.
We were on the providing advertising for businesses.
Thank you. I guess bottom line is dollar amount that we can put towards it, and the next we can meet again and just solve some issues. So if we know a rough amount that we think it would cost us to advertise, we'll just set that aside and go from there. So as I said, we never advertised on the radio. So if you guys have a decent number that might make sense.
Well, what are everyone's thoughts on purchasing that campaign for, I think, what was it, Justin, to the tune of $600 for 50 spots?
$600 for 100 spots.
100 spots.
Because
so
it was
that would be
it
nice
was a BOGO.
between, you could maybe have top 3 businesses
I like the
win
idea
spots,
of 3.
or just one winner that gets all 100 spots. But it might be nice to spread the wealth out a little bit, right?
I'd
I
like
think
to
it'd be
see all
nice to
3.
spread it. Yeah.
And personally, I would strongly recommend you look at radio versus print. Print is always an option, but I can tell you radio is a much more cost effective and just overall effective advertising medium.
So if we're going to do 3 prizes, do we, what's the word I'm looking for?
Do it equally.
Do it equally?
But again, okay, I'm sorry, I'm just having second thoughts here. Is this something that you also want to try and support? You could do a small print ad in one of the local papers and then a bigger radio campaign, just so we aren't necessarily focusing all the dollars on one media provider. Sorry to complicate things, but just thinking, we do have a broad range of media providers, and some do read print ads while others listen to radio. So maybe you want to consider both.
Okay, question. What's Uncle Buck's like for their advertising? It's a business card side in one of their pages. Any idea?
Quarter page ad, actually, I just got some pricing from them this week, and this is for the South Grenville Journal. So quarter page regular price is $169. And then it goes down to 1/8. You could look at an 1/8 of a page as well, which would be probably closer to about 100.
And that's for one ad or multiple?
That's one ad.
So nothing from the Uncle Buck's that comes out free to the public, because I know a lot of people like to grab it.
Well, and I think their actual advertising is quite limited because it is just a one-page publication. I do know that they offer some business advertising. You know,
Yeah.
the business people in the room can speak better to what's more appealing to them. I would assume that maybe a radio and a more of a newsprint ad would be more appealing than going the coffee news route.
I like the radio. And some kind of print. So it's what, $600 for 100 spots on the radio?
Mhm.
And what was the lower amount for the print?
$169 for a quarter-page ad. That's with the South Grenville Beacon.
And that would
So
do,
if you did say 3 of those ads plus a $600 radio campaign, that would put you at just shy of $1,000. And then you could split the radio campaign up between your winning businesses. Either they each get 30 some spots, or maybe your top winner gets something like 50, and then you split the other 50 between the second and third place winners.
that'd be cool too.
Just some thoughts, but you are, you know, that is getting up there to about $1,000, and you could also split it different ways too. So, but I think, you know, between some radio spots and a print ad, that would give the business some nice exposure.
But $1,000 I think is too much to spend
Yeah.
on this event. Yeah, in my opinion.
Tracy?
I was just gonna say, like, something like the radio campaign, maybe something that we look at like closer to Christmas or something like that, like as a big whatever. But I really think that part of the prize for this event should be some Prescott dollars, because you know they're gonna spend them in Prescott, right? Like, you're actually gonna get something back for your money that way.
Well, this money is going to go to the business owner, though, right?
Mhm.
This is going to go to the business owner, not the customer. So,
But the business owner could give them out, right?
Yeah.
So that you could spend the money in their store, or I don't know.
Even spend them themselves, but they're going to spend them in Prescott, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, either way, whichever way they want to.
That way you're sure that your money's staying in town, as just as one of the prizes. I don't mean the whole thing, but I think it should be part of the, you know, if you're gonna do more than one.
And we would be open to, like, a business doesn't just have to give them away for making a purchase. That's been kind of our program guidelines when we give those away as a town, that the requirement is you give them to someone who's making a purchase. But a winning business could receive a certain amount of dollars that they could then use directly at the point of sale to discount someone's purchase, versus hoping that if they give them these dollars, they're going to come back and respend them in their store. Because I can tell you, in a lot of cases, when we do the giveaways, people may receive these dollars at a business, but then turn around and spend them at a completely different store. So that business giving them away isn't necessarily getting the full benefit, whereas they could just use them to as a discount, to give that customer a discount when they're making a purchase.
Anyway, it's probably a good idea that we come up with an amount that we want to use for this event.
yeah, that's kind of the first thing we should deal with is the money, and then go from there. If there's a dollar amount that we think we can come up with that is sufficient, then we can do that and go from there.
Like, it's more bragging rights than anything. So maybe
Yeah.
50 for the first place, 30 for second, and 20 for the third. In like $100. It sounds small, but you know what? $20 is $20 that we could spend on stationery supplies, or I know we're saving up for something for the store, and it'll be purchased in Prescott. So it could be either at Canadian Tire, or we're going to go to Giant Tiger for it. So like $20 towards a purchase really helps a smaller business like ourselves out. And it's more bragging rights than anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
And you could do some fun social media pictures with the winning businesses, and also they also get, you know, the benefit of the promotion out of that as well.
Right.
And as you said, Jeannie, they can choose just to simply take those dollars and spend them on products for their business too. There would be
Yep.
no restrictions attached to these dollars.
All right, to those, as far as the amounts go, was that decent for what Jeannie said, or do you want a little more? Or
No, that's enough. I think that's good. Do you want to make a motion then, Jeannie?
okay, I'd like to make a motion that we have a small contest with our I'm Thankful Thanksgiving drive. First place winner gets $50, second place gets 30, and third place gets 20 in the Proud Prescott dollars.
I'll second the motion.
motion is made by Jeannie, seconded by Pearl. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, and our promo group will meet ASAP. Because yeah, Thanksgiving really is not that far away.
Yeah.
So. Alrighty, I lost all my stuff.
Neither is Halloween. Are we doing something for Halloween this year? Is
Yes.
the town doing something for Halloween?
Yeah.
Yes.
We've talked. I don't, Justin, do you want to talk about it, or I can talk about it? Doesn't really matter.
Where to begin about Halloween? So the first thing will be that on October 30th, we'll be having a special Halloween farmers market from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. where I believe Kevin can jump in here, but we'll be incorporating, I think we left it at costume contest and some sort of pumpkin related activity. There was carving discussion, but the more I thought about it, I thought perhaps painting might be less stabby. We could try a pumpkin painting competition. Down there, we'd have music as well as possibly other events down as part of that. I think Kevin had some other ideas to associate in there with, the idea of having a downtown business trick or treat. So businesses that want to participate on the 30th during that time period, during that 9 to 4, could have candies and kids could come around in costume and trick or treat at the businesses while they're going down through there. I know I'm missing at least some things there, Kevin, so.
No, you did good for the most part. Thank
Mhm.
you. No, as Justin said, market on the 30th. We discussed having a costume contest, which blends right into downtown trick-or-treating, which is something that basically has always been done. I don't think it wasn't done last year at all, because I don't think we could. I don't think anybody was open.
Yes.
Were we open?
Well, I was handing out candy at Quality along with my daughter.
Oh, I might have just been closing up. That might be, yeah. So that was kind of, I think that was the market in a nutshell. The pumpkin carving thing, that was something we're looking at a little more to the side of the pumpkin parade if it's done.
So the pumpkin parade would occur after
Halloween,
though. So we sort of had that discussion about how that would go down, because we talked about the possibility of seeing if we could get some mini pumpkins donated or pumpkins donated there. I was thinking if we could get some mini pumpkins donated and some paints, then we could let all the children go to town on those and again, not have to worry about any stabbings.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We could have We could have an adult carving though, carving contest. That seems to be a big thing now.
She does have a point.
You know, have both, have, you know, a painting kind of one with small pumpkins for kids, and then have people that have to, you know, sign up in advance or some kind of idea like that and do a pumpkin carving contest.
Make it a bring your own pumpkin.
I would suggest maybe reaching out to Samantha and inviting her to your next events planning meeting, because then she can bring, you know, some insight into what she's got planned, because, you know, I would almost speculate she may be looking at something similar. So is this something that the BIA really wants to take a lead on planning, or do something more the downtown, focus on the downtown business trick-or-treating contest, some of those other activities that are going to be more business focused, while knowing that there are also some family friendly activities happening in the downtown that day.
Yeah. Well, we knew after the meeting that we were still going to have to tweak a few things. This was just to get the ideas out there of what the thoughts are, and they're pretty solid in that. But I do like the adult pumpkin carving thing. That's a good idea. I like pumpkin carving.
Yeah, it seems to be a big deal now.
It is. It's humongous. Well, I mean, if you go to the pumpkin parade, it's amazing some of those pumpkins that people do. That's why I was saying there should be a contest related with that, but we can talk with Samantha about that. I think really the only thing to this, other than tweaking details, is just, do we want to set just a little bit of finances aside to be able to cover any costs that may come up? Because we won't meet again until afterwards. So even if it's not all used, as long as there's a few dollars there that we have, that I don't know if anybody won't donate pumpkins, but like paint and stuff, unless town can handle that, it doesn't matter to me. But
I saw Matthew shake his head.
Well,
Matthew's paying for all of it.
so I'm just thinking that I think your meeting is the second week in October.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
So we'll have an opportunity to kind of finalize any plans. So
Yeah,
might be.
sorry, I totally forgot what month we're in. I'm sorry. You're right.
Cool.
Thank you. I wasn't even paying attention. So yeah, then we'll bring it back next meeting, and then we can finalize the details. But those are the thoughts. Anybody?
There was also one other that Leslie's going to get back to us on concerning the old time carnival, like beanbag toss, just activities for kids.
Yeah.
And some donations of little prizes, whatever.
Yeah. I forgot about that one. Thank you. So yes. So does anybody have any suggestions? Obviously now we want to carve pumpkin. Everyone wants to carve pumpkins.
Yep.
Just throwing another idea there, maybe to try and build on the turkey storefront door spray. I would love to see us, like, there's so many opportunities for businesses to, you know, really get engaged with their storefronts, decor, whether it be, you know, at certain times of the year or in support of different events that are coming through. For example, Shakespeare Festival. I've often thought that businesses, you know, the whole town should really transform into that for the entire month of the Shakespeare Festival. So, you know, maybe even organizing a full-fledged storefront decoration competition. Mm-hmm. I know we had really successful ones in previous positions that I've held. The businesses really get behind it and get really excited about it. And you could have a very similar prize. You wouldn't really have to complicate it, just a very similar Prescott Proud Dollars prize. But look at doing this for every season, for Halloween, for Christmas, and really start trying to get these businesses, you know, decorated up for the season and supporting the hard work and effort that we all know has to go into that.
Yeah, we actually did discuss it about for Christmas, Dana. We didn't really hit on it too much for Halloween, because we know some of us are a little out there anyways as far as Halloween goes, and there's a few of us that are just going to do it anyways. But you can't, it's not off the table, that's for sure, for something for Halloween. So,
Oh,
yeah.
and I just recall one other discussion about Shakespeare Festival, and they were looking at a potential haunted walking tour. Did they get back to you on that and whether they had any? Because that could
Not
be a
yet.
great downtown thing.
Yeah, all I know is they're supposed to have a fundraising meeting, and this is the topic, and that's all I know.
Okay.
So I double checked with Richard. I haven't heard from him yet today. I didn't want to speak out of turn on anything like that just in case, but that's all I know. So, and I know I'm planning a few things myself privately, but yeah, and some involvement with town most likely, but I'm also going to be doing a paranormal investigation at the shop. So, and public will be able to come, not a lot, but public will be able to sign up. So Justin's going to come because he wants to see a ghost. But those are a little few, yeah. So that's, I think the month is actually going to have some interesting stuff. That's for sure. So yeah, we will meet again and we will discuss all that. And then Christmas, we didn't really get into Christmas. We'll just kind of get this hammered out first and then go from there. Because I know we're kind of used to what town would normally do, and I'm not sure if town is normally going to do what they would do. So we kind of have to, with Samantha on board, things might be a little different. Who knows? So.
And who knows what restrictions are going to be there or not be there, right? That's the whole
Yeah,
thing. It's up in the air.
Optimistic, but yeah. So that's kind of the events thing in a nutshell. We will deal with more as time goes on. We'll move on to number 7, financial report. I will let Tracy talk about money, though I don't think we've spent any, but
Well, we've committed some.
that's different.
Yeah. So to date, and I'm going to give you the balance with the commitments included. That way we'll have a better idea. So with the coordinator position, our year-to-date balance that we have remaining is $6,499. With marketing and promotion, including our commitments that were the BIA stage at the market, the shopping bags, Rediscover Riverwalk, pole wraps, and the rack card commitment tonight. That brings our balance to $37.71 remaining for marketing. And then our physical improvements, there's still the $10,000 left. So for a total of $20,270 remaining.
Alrighty.
We need to spend some money.
Yeah.
I was thinking that. Yeah, that's why I was wondering about any benches or anything on side streets and stuff. Do we want to throw any money at that? But yeah, we can talk about that next time. But yeah, I didn't realize we still had all the money there.
I did see, that some flowers were coming down today. Were they just doing something with them, or are they changing them out for something fallish?
I think those flowers are getting towards their end of life.
I figured that, yeah.
So I don't think we have anything planned. We will be switching out banners in early November to switch to our fall banners and then start doing Christmas decorating for mid to late November.
So will there be Christmas? Are you doing like Christmas baskets on each pole again? Is that something that BIA could help out with, or is that something that you've already budgeted for? And
we weren't planning on it. Yeah, we've struggled with them in the past. They tend to go south pretty quickly. So we are thinking of some different ideas around decorations, but we want a little bit of time to formulate that before we get back on that.
What about a wreath? Would a wreath work on each of those? And not maybe not necessarily a real wreath, maybe a artificial or something. Would something like that work, and the BIA could could help out with that, would,
Yeah, I think we can add that to our next meeting and be happy to kind of explore that.
okay.
Lit
Yeah,
up.
because I'd really like to spend some of that money in beautification.
Well, we got some ideas.
Okay. Okay, good,
He's got ideas, and he's going to make us spend the money.
good. That's what we want.
I lit up wreaths.
Say that again.
Yep.
That would be pretty. When
Um,
does our fiscal year end? Like, is it the calendar year? Like, when does our budget reset? Calendar year? Okay, so we've got quite a bit to spend then.
Well,
Are there-
yes and no, right? Because our coordinator expenses are going to be ongoing.
Yeah.
And then really for marketing and promotions, we only have the 3771, which isn't a whole lot when you factor in Christmas campaigns, right? And then, I mean, obviously we could always move some money from beautification, but it's not like we still have to be, that's my treasurer.
Yes, we
Yeah.
have to be careful, but I would really
Yeah.
like to spend some of the beautification. Just
Yeah.
because we didn't do
Yeah.
a lot. We did a lot last year, but this year we haven't
Mhm.
done a lot, and I would like to at least do something,
Yep, for sure.
Does town have any fall decorations?
No. We really don't. I think in the past we've tried to do some scarecrows, things like that, but just the season is so short, and then by the time you're switching over into Christmas and winter, that it tends to go by pretty quick. We will have some ideas though.
All right. Well, I know typically they've had like the bales of hay and stuff with the signs, and some down at the clock tower and stuff like that. But all right. All right. Well, we can maybe help if needed. So, all righty. Let's move along to staff. What staff have to say tonight? Who's first?
Thanks, Kevin. So yeah, just a couple of updates for you, one of which could definitely make a dent in your budget if the BIA so chooses. So we're looking at kind of building on, I'm sure as many of you have noticed, we've installed some beautiful Adirondack chairs along the waterfront this summer, standard size chair. And some communities, North Grenville would be a great example, have actually installed these giant Adirondack chairs, which serves as a bit of a, tourist draw, kind of a great selfie opportunity in your community. It kind of runs along the same signs as the tourism signs that communities do, but this would provide us, which is something that we are looking forward moving down the road, but we thought this could be a nice option that would also serve as a bit of a tourism promotional piece. So we would look at buying a handful of chairs. The hope would be that they would be sponsored by businesses, local organizations, and they would each have the same branded theme, very much promoting Prescott, explore Prescott, Ontario, have some of our, the website, QR codes to our business directories, our tourism website, and then also have a scene depicted on each chair that would represent some of the key assets or attractions that we have in Prescott. So whether one of them be the marina and harbor lighthouse, another one could be Kelly's Beach. We could have one with a scene of Fort Wellington. You could have another one with like a Shakespearean play on the go, and really just kind of promoting those assets. And then also we were thinking have one with like a beautiful downtown streetscape that would show, some shoppers walking along the sidewalk. Maybe the farmer's market is going on in the market square, something like a really animated downtown scene. So we've actually there's a business that's come forward, Property Guys, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Ben at Kenville was very excited about this opportunity. He approached me about the option of sponsoring one of these chairs in the downtown kind of Riverwalk district. And we talked about this before, so it kind of re-energized the whole previous discussion of let's do this on a larger scale and look at maybe getting half a dozen of these and approaching different organizations and businesses for sponsorship, which brings me here tonight with a suggestion that it might be something that BIA would like to consider sponsoring one of those chairs. We're just confirming costs right now. We're looking at between $4,000 to $5,000 for the chair, exact cost to be determined, but what we would proposing is a 50-50 split. So town would cover 50%, BIA could cover the other 50%, up to a maximum upset cost of $2,500. And if God forbid there were overages, I think the town would be prepared to cover that. But I'm not anticipating, we know that that is what another community purchased and installed them for. So, and something else as part of this, in other communities they have done, there's a real mix of wood versus your plastic lumber type chairs. Brockville has a giant Adirondack chair, which is the plastic lumber. North Grenville, I know they have done wood, and I actually received some pictures of them today, and they are starting to show some wear. So I would strongly recommend, if this is something we're going to do, go with the plastic lumber, because they can be maintained. They have pretty much, there's a limitless warranty on them. They last forever unless they're actually subjected to vandalism or damage. Not something that you have to maintain and restain on a regular basis. So that's the direction we would head. They're definitely a higher price point, but they outlast the wood chairs significantly. So that's what we're bringing forth tonight, is an opportunity potentially for the BIA to consider sponsorship of one of these chairs. And we would recommend the one that the BIA sponsored actually gets placed within the Market Square area to really promote the downtown and try to help with creating more of that visual connection between the downtown and the Riverwalk district. So we're looking at potentially the sidewalk area where we've got those gorgeous planters on Water Street. We could have the large Adirondack chair there, flanked by potentially a couple smaller ones. And it really draws that focal point, and then again draws your eyes down to the river and the Riverwalk district.
Yeah, I agree. I'll make a motion that that we support your initiative for the Adirondack chair in the amount of $2,500 to $3,000.
You're just all over that one.
You knew I would be. You knew I would be. So.
Yeah. So
I would second that.
All right, and sorry, I'm all flustered. Motion is made by Pearl, seconded by Karen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, there you go. Look at that.
That was
There you
easy.
go, Teresa. Giant chairs. I honestly thought that was a topic that would never come back. That's cool. All right. What else? What else we got? Or is that it? Just giant chairs?
Well, and really just a quick update on pole wraps. I'm quite certain that BIA members have been out and about in the downtown and noticed that the pole wraps are being installed as we speak. They made it to the intersection of Edward and King today, which was very exciting. They look great. Hopefully you've all had an opportunity to see them. They all work, which is good. If you are hearing any potential feedback about QR codes not working, just a word to the wise, you do have to keep your distance as well. There's a bit of a sweet spot, let's put it that way, when it comes to scanning those QR codes. So if you are hearing feedback potentially about them not working, just tell people to either move back or a bit closer. But I think they look fantastic. I'm hoping that members have seen them and are pleased with the installation and what they're seeing so far.
When will they start to paint the poles? Will that be done this year?
Yeah, our intention is to have it done kind of before the snow flies, but we're just lining that up in terms of the contractor to do it, because it is at heights and we don't want to paint a bunch of cars. So that's kind of our key concerns on that one.
Right. Okay, that sounds good.
Are all the wraps up now, or there's still a few more to do?
Still a few more to do.
Okay.
But it should be done, I would think.
I see some intersections might be, I don't know if they're missing one or if it's.
They are, yeah, actually they had to have, so there's a couple that have boxes attached to them that actually need to be removed by a contractor.
Oh,
So
really?
they're just kind of waiting for that to be dealt with. So they'll get them all done, which is why you may see some intersection that seem to be missing a wrap at this point.
Right. Were we covering the boxes?
Nope, that wasn't in
Yeah,
this particular
I
project.
couldn't remember after the fact. I was just wondering. Okay. No, but
And we did look at it and it was quite expensive. The cost just really didn't warrant the impact we felt.
No, I like it, especially on some of the rusty ones. It's hidden some of the age. So yeah, no, I think they look good. Anything else from town?
Just a note that we are kind of building on the discussion about lighting and wreaths and things of that nature. So we are looking at some possible lighting options that we'll be coming back with for the BIA to consider. Everything from possibly even street line lighting banners that would run from across the street, and some pole lighting, as well as some of the light fixtures that we talked about previously. And we can absolutely look at lit wreaths if that's something that members are interested in.
Yeah, I would like.
Pearl, yeah. Alrighty. Anything else from town? No? Okay. Good. You sure? Okay. That being said, any new business tonight? Probably not. I see nothing. So that being said, we're at 10, adjournment. Anybody cares to make the motion to adjourn this evening's meeting?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Motion is made by Pearl, seconded by?
I will.
Seconded by Jeannie. All in favor?
Aye.